Hello everyone, BrickDark here. Today we're reviewing the LEGO Spider-Man Attack on the Spider Lair set with 6 minifigures, 466 pieces, and a retail price of $70 in the United States. Let's start with the first of 2 exclusive Spider-Man suits. This one is labeled as Ultimate Spider-Man, or essentially the big time suit, aka the final suit you wear in Spider-Man PS4 for the final boss. This is really cool. You get that green and black design, which looks really nice, as well as a hint of dark blue. I'm not sure if you can see it, but it's highlighted by the light there. You have a little bit of dark blue, which looks really cool. Very cool figure. Very glad to be getting this in LEGO, and really wouldn't have made sense anywhere else, so I'm glad it's here. The other exclusive Spider-Man suit is this homemade outfit, which is really cool. It does reuse the same cat piece that was introduced in, or not introduced, but used in the 2019 Far From Home Venice set, which I don't really mind. That just is the swimmer cat piece with the Spider-Man logo up top. Then you do have this hood design on the back. Now there's some things you can do with this figure, because they do include a Peter Parker head print. No, this isn't the one used for the CMF series, but though rather the one used for Ant-Man. So you can see him here. On one side he has a happy expression, and on the other side he looks scared. Is that not aligned? No, I think the head just turned. But they also include a hairpiece, so you can have him like this, so it's actual Peter Parker with the hair, which is pretty cool. I always like getting new Spider-Man suits, and this is definitely a cool one to add to the collection. Where's the hat? There it is. Come on. So here we have the 2020 updated Iron Spider minifigure. Now this is a figure that only comes in an $80 set and a foil pack. So this is the easiest and cheapest way to get this figure. And I think it's alright. I much prefer the MCU Iron Spider design, but I think this one is pretty cool. It's just overall not my favorite design for a character in general. But you do get this set of arms, which is on that Outrider back piece. Same build as the one from Infinity War. Then looking at the figure itself, you do get this red and gold outline. And on the back, you do have the spot where the arms would spout from, which is pretty cool. There's also some little lines. Let's see if you can see it. You can see there's some little lines on the face as well to give it a little bit more detail, which is pretty cool. I don't super love this figure, but still, it's another Spider-Man suit, so I can't really complain. I just don't really love how just this general design of this figure and character, but still, it's pretty cool. Here is the Spider-Man minifigure, and the figure itself has come in a lot of 2021 sets. It does have that nice arm printing, which unfortunately is a bit desaturated because it's on those blue arms. And this figure does not have the dual molded legs either, which is a bit of a shame. What I do think is much more interesting, though, is these web pieces. This is a new color they introduced, and it only came in a couple of sets, I think 3. And it's this misty clear color, so it actually looks like real webs. And I love and dislike this. I don't dislike this idea, because you do get the whole web thing, including those web handcuffs. I just really don't like what LEGO did with the connector pieces, in that they're just normal white. And it looks very odd when you just have these solid white bits with these really nice looking clear bits. It feels cheap and just feels like a cop-out, and that's probably my biggest flaw with this set. Yeah, I didn't love how the Iron Spider looked, but I don't like how it looks in general, so a LEGO translation version of it I'm not gonna super enjoy, but this is something that definitely should have been fixed, and it's probably my biggest complaint with the set, which, in all honesty, isn't that big of a deal, but still, it's worth pointing out, and I think it's just not very good. Only the best is good enough. Clearly not, because these just do not look good. But, anyways, the Spider-Man figure is still very cool. Here is Venom. I believe this is the 2019 redesign. This figure comes in a bunch of sets. You do get these pieces as Venom tentacles, which is pretty cool. He has an open mouth, and yeah, just not a particularly standout figure. Maybe one day we'll get a Tom Hardy Venom with some arm printing and more detail on the head, but still, it's Venom. It's cool. Just not too much else to say. Here is Green Goblin, and this is actually my first Green Goblin minifigure. I got the big fig from the Spider Helicopter set, but this is the first time I'm getting a minifigure version of the Goblin. And this is a really cool figure. He does come with a stud shooter, which is probably one of the last times you'll ever see this piece used, now that they're switching to the new stud shooter. Just push down on this, and it shoots out the stud. And then looking at the figure itself, this figure does come in the Daily Bugle set, but that set is $300, so this is definitely the easiest way to get this figure. It's got this really cool face that is pretty intimidating, and you can see on the back he does have an angry expression. He also does have this cool piece with that dual molding. Taking off the little satchel that goes over the minifigure head, and you just take it off like this. Not a new color or anything, it's appeared for quite a few years at this point. And then, putting the figure back together, you can see the detail on this figure, all went down to the foot printing. It looks really cool, and yeah, this is a really, really cool figure. And I'm very glad he comes in as quote-unquote cheap a set as this is compared to the Daily Bugle set. Which, don't get me wrong, Daily Bugle set is a great set. I don't know what I was on when it first got revealed, but still, $300 is a lot of money to pay. So getting this really cool Green Goblin in a much cheaper set is always really appreciated. Anyways, that's it for the figures. So here is the Spider Lair itself. And don't let that 400 piece count fool you. This thing is huge. They use a lot of really big pieces, and I definitely think it works out. This thing is big. So, starting out in the middle, you do have this area with a little Spider motorcycle, which I don't mind this vehicle. I can see Spider-Man using a motorcycle if, say, his web shooters were damaged. So I can definitely see this, and I'm fine with this. There is a sticker on both sides, inverted, of the Spider-Man logo, which is pretty cool. You can have it on here, and you can also just rotate it as you wish. Rolls very smoothly. So we're just going to move that out of the way, and then moving in on the center, I think this is where a lot of the cool details are of this set. So first off, on the side here, you do have a place to put the Iron Spider arms. Then over here you do have this little dumbbell, which uses that double length lightsaber piece introduced in Monkey Kid that is yet to be used as a lightsaber. Everyone thought, oh, it logically makes sense for Darth Maul to use it. No, since LEGO really hates the prequels. But you also have a little water bottle behind there, which is pretty cool. I will say, the dumbbell is very loose, which I was expecting, but it is way looser than I was even expecting. So, do keep that in mind. You do have a tool rack over here and a tool rack over there, as well as these two web bits that can be adjusted, and they both have this little spider bot on them. One with a red stud, one with a blue stud. So that's very cool. And you do have these little lights which can be adjusted how you'd like. Then your camera, a video game controller, a PlayStation controller, if you will. It's really weird. This is a very weird piece. You've got the position of the analog sticks like a PlayStation 4 controller, but then the D-pad of an Xbox 360, which is a very interesting hodgepodge. You have this cup in the middle. Removing that, we get a very cool detail with the two keyboard prints in that they are a web, which is very cool. Also have that chair in the middle that you can have Spider-Man sit down in. And I'm much more okay with this set's existence because we saw something like it in Into the Spider-Verse. Because I don't like Spider-Man vehicles. But there's a lot of interesting references. So starting up at the top, you do have this email from J. Jonah Jameson. Says, terrible photo, you're fired. That's pretty cool. Over here, you do have a little schematic of the Iron Spider arms. Over here, you do have a little image of the Spider Bot. On this side, it's a bit hard to see, but you do have the outlines for the suits included in the set, as well as the Fantastic Four costume that he wears when he loses his costume. If you don't know the story, Johnny Storm, aka the Human Torch, lends Spider-Man a Fantastic Four costume and a bag to put over his head when he loses his costume. So that's very interesting that they've referenced that there, because LEGO have never made Fantastic Four, so that's hopefully one day they will, but as of yet, they have not. You have this Spider-Man statuette figure, which kind of would have been cool to get in the set, but it's fine that it's not. And then you do have what looks to be Spider-Man PS4. Trying to put my fingers back so you can see that, but you've got him swinging through New York City with the stud counter, and they did a similar thing with the Lego Fortnite in, what's it called? The Brothor's New Asgard. You can also adjust these as you'd like. I like them like this. So that's really cool. Now there's officially a Lego Spider-Man PS4 and a Lego Fortnite. Just readjusting the camera. You also have this sticker up here of the Spider-Man logo on a head. So turning this around, you do have this little ramp, which you can have this little skateboard that's included. Have a figure, go up it. Very simple play feature. You also have this, what's it called? Suit manhole cover print that's present on both sides. Over here, this is where you can put your suits. Now, unfortunately, it doesn't seem like this was going to be expanded upon, just like the Iron Man Hall of Armor, which is a bit of a shame since the clips are there for something like this to exist. However, there just isn't really the space for it, which is weird saying this for such a big set. But then looking on the other side, we do have this little jail cell where you can put, on the box I show, Green Goblin, so you can just plop him in there, in theory. I guess you might have to take the satchel off, so I'm going to put Venom in there because I'm too lazy to do that. But you do have this little jail cell, which is a pretty common feature, and I don't really care that much about it. Do I put him? Where do I put him? Do I put him? Oh, I put him back here. I had not played around with this feature. So, okay, yeah, there. So now you got Venom locked away, and then the final bit that you can play around with uses this little Catapult Build, which uses this ball piece, which is bigger than the balls launched in the, say, the Resistance Bomber. This is an orange soccer ball, which is pretty interesting, and you do get two of them. So what the goal is, as you can see here, you push down on this, and the goal is to get it into the basket, which does have this pretty cool sticker as the backboard. Now, this is almost certainly going to go behind the desk drawer I record on. So, 3, 2, 1. Yeah, what do you know, it went behind. But that's a pretty fun thing to play around with. And that's about it for all the Spider-Man builds of the set, but we do have one more build. And that is Green Goblin's glider. It's a pretty cute design. You do have these engines and this flame, as well as this sticker up front with these 2 horns. You can just put Gobby in there on those 2 studs, and you can have him fly around. No stud shooters or flick fire missiles on the actual glider. He just comes with the stud shooter. So yeah, it's a pretty cool little build. But yeah, that's about it for the builds of the set. Let's take a look at the box and the instructions. The box design is very similar, if not the same, to the design they used for the Spider-Man sets in 2020, and it is that long $70, $80 box size. And then on the back, you can see all of the features of the set highlighted, which is pretty cool. You do have the Spider-Man as the side box art. Pretty cool box. Pretty huge instruction booklet. Then at the very end, they have an ad for some of the other Spider-Man sets. I own the Ghost Rider set. I think that this set is the worst Marvel set of 2021 and one of the worst Marvel sets of all time. And then you got this set, which actually did launch in March, not in November. But that's it for all of the other advertisements and the instructions. Did I say November? I mean January. These 2 sets at the top launched in January and this one came out in March. What's wrong with me? I don't know. Now, I'm usually extremely against these Spider-Man vehicles and other things in his color scheme. I think they look tacky, but this is an exception to that rule. This is a really cool playset, and I'm fine with its existence because we've seen something like this in Into the Spider-Verse. And I love that movie, as I'm sure many of you do as well. And this has a design that's similar, but not exactly like that movie, which I think is completely okay. The figure selection here is really good. 2 exclusive Spider-Man suits, one that only comes in a $80 set, and a Green Goblin that only comes in a $300 set. Great figure selections. The Venom and the Spider-Man, these 2 I think are okay. They come in a lot of sets, but that doesn't really mean that they're bad. It's just that they're not as special as the other figures here. You get a really cool central display with a lot of references, and you also have the area to display your suits and a little jail cell. And it's a great looking display piece and also a great piece to play around with, so kids and adults will enjoy this all the same. If I had one thing to pick, one bone to pick with this, it is that the webs right here, the connector pieces, are in a solid white and not in that clear white, because it just looks tacky and wrong. And that's a real shame, because this set really does have it all. $70, I will say, is a tad expensive. I think it's still a fine price for this, but I think $60 would have been the optimal price for this. $70 is still a fine price. I don't think you're getting ripped off if you're paying full price for this. So yeah, overall, I would give this set a 9 out of 10. I definitely recommend it to any Spider-Man fan and any Marvel fan in general. You get a lot of cool references and a pretty cool build that's really big. Again, don't let that sub 500 piece count fool you. This set is huge. Anyways, that's it for this video. See you guys later. Peace.